The VW Tiguan is one of VW's most successful, biggest selling cars, and it's not hard to understand why it's been so popular. Since 2007, the Tiguan name has usually been attached to an SUV that's comfortable, practical, good to drive, and nice inside. But what's this latest Tiguan really like? Does it deserve to be as popular as the versions before it, or are there now better alternatives? In this review, we're telling you everything you need to know about this SUV. And keep watching until the end, because we're telling you which are the best versions to go for, and we're also telling you how to spec it. To see lots more reviews like this, make sure you subscribe to the What Car channel. So, the Tiguan name has been around since 2007, when the first generation model was launched. A second generation model followed in 2016, and this is the third generation car, which was first launched in 2024. Compared to the model before it, this latest Tiguan received a makeover on the outside, and more substantially on the inside. It's also very slightly bigger than before as well, even though it's built on the same mechanical underpinnings. And the Tiguan is still in a very competitive part of the market. As a family SUV with a pretty broad price range, this is up against a whole host of competitors like the Kia Sportage and Hyundai Tucson and the Skoda Karoq, as well as some premium alternatives like the BMW X1 and Volvo XC40. So it's not short on rivals, but the Tiguan stands out compared to most of them in a pretty important area, and that is back here. Regular petrol and diesel versions of this car get an enormous boot with a total of 652 litres of storage. You get a height adjustable boot floor as standard, and with it in its lowest position, we could fit a total of 9 carry-on size suitcases into the boot, which is loads. That's 2 more than you'll get in an XC40, and it's 4 more than a Mini Countryman's boot can hold. But the Skoda Karoq, which is very closely related to this car, can fit the same number in its boot. That is below the parcel shelf, of course. And it's not just the overall capacity that is impressive about the boot of the Tiguan. You've got helpful things like that height adjustable boot floor, like these cubbies at the front, and you've even got a little storage tray in the back as well. Plus, if you want even more room than this, then you can of course fold down the rear seats, and they split fold 40-20-40. Lots of other rivals only split fold 60-40. To put the seats down in the Tiguan, you've also got these helpful levers, which you can use in the boot itself to release them. But if you want them to lie perfectly flat, you do still need to go around to the side and do it yourself. And when it is down, you can see it lies flat with the boot floor, and even with it in its lowest position, you've got that slope up to it at the back, which should help if you're loading in really big, long items into the boot. So, back here, really impressive. But it's important to know that if you go for a plug-in hybrid version of the Tiguan, then the overall boot capacity drops down quite a bit to 490 litres. And that's because a lot of the hybrid tech required for that car takes up the room underneath the boot floor. So you don't get a height adjustable boot floor at all. This is another area of strength for the Tiguan, rear seat space. Legroom is very generous. You've got loads of space for your feet under the seat in front as well. And headroom is very good, even if you've got this optional panoramic roof fitted, which does eat into the available space, but you'd still have to be well over 6 foot really to have a problem with the available headroom back here. And if you've got 2 people sat in the outer rear seat, no one in the middle, then you can fold this down to make use of the armrest and also reveal this cup holder and smartphone setup here. If you do need to make use of this middle seat, then it's slightly higher than the outer 2 rear seats, but still offers enough headroom for tall adults. But you'd still only really want to use it on shorter journeys, because you've got this lump in the floor here, which you've got to put your legs either side of. And also the center console comes back pretty far into the available space here, which takes up some knee room. But still very good in the back, not just for space, but also for the fact that you get sliding rear seats as standard, and you can also recline them as well, putting them in a range of different positions if you want a more upright sitting position, or if you want to lay back as far as it will let you go. And that's not just impressive for the comfort that it offers back here, but it also gives you the option of freeing up some extra boot space if you want to slide these seats forwards to give you more room in the very back. Now, in previous versions of the Tiguan, you could get the Tiguan All-Space, which was essentially a 7-seat version of this car. But for the latest Tiguan, you can no longer buy a Tiguan All-Space. However, the good news is if you love this car but you have to have 7 seats, then there is the VW Tiguan. And you can click up there at the top of the screen to watch our full in-depth review of that car, which points out all the similarities and differences between this Tiguan and that 7-seat Tiguan. Now, what about up front? Does this interior stand out as much as this car's practicality compared to its rivals? Well, getting comfortable in the Tiguan is very easy because you've got loads of adjustment in the seat and in the steering wheel. You also get powered adjustable lumbar support for both front seats as standard, which is very good. If you go for elegance or above, then you get massaging front seats. And the view out of the car is fantastic. From the driver's seat, you've got a good view all the way down to the nose of the car. You've got slim pillars up front here, which don't really get in the way much at junctions. And from the back, you've also got relatively slim pillars and lots of glass to help the view out as well. And for parking, you've got front and rear sensors, you've got a reversing camera as standard, and on elegance and above, you also get a 360-degree camera setup as well, which you can add as an option to the lower trims. All versions get this 10.3-inch fully digital driver display, which gives you sharp graphics and a lot of useful information, and it's pretty easy to cycle through the different menus on it as well. Next to it, on the dashboard here, you can see this touchscreen infotainment system. Now, the standard screen measures 12.9 inches in size. If you go for the Infotainment Package Plus, then you get a head-up display, and it also ups the screen size to a massive 15 inches, which is as big as the screen that you'll find in a Tesla Model Y. Now, this is the smaller of the two screens, but you can see it's still absolutely massive. And whichever version you go for, it will run the same basic infotainment software. And VW's latest infotainment systems are certainly a huge step forwards compared to what they were offering a few years ago, but it's still not perfect. It's on the complicated side, and it can be a little bit jerky and laggy switching between the different screens and layouts that you have. But as standard, you get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can bypass a lot of the VW infotainment software and just go straight for those apps that you'd use off your phone anyway. You can see along the top of the screen here, you've got some shortcut icons, and what is useful is the fact that you can customize what they take you to. Along the bottom, you've got your climate controls here, and you've still got these sliders on the bottom of the screen, all of which is way more complicated than having separate physical controls and dials to operate all of that. And it is really annoying that some of the climate controls are still on a sub-menu that mean you've got to poke and prod at a screen, which is very fiddly. But it's good that on the steering wheel, you've got these physical controls here, which are very easy to use. And there's another physical control down on the center console. But this rotary dial only controls the volume of what you're listening to and the drive modes. It seems bizarre that VW hasn't bothered to make this also control parts of the infotainment system, because it would make it far easier to use while you're driving than poking and prodding at a screen. Now, what about interior quality? Well, up front in the Tiguan, it's pretty smart in here, to be honest. You've got some faux leather on the doors and on the dashboards as well. You've got gloss black and silver trim. You've also got some ambient interior lighting. On the entry-level trim of this car, you just got a strip of ambient interior lighting, but if you go for an elegance or an R-Line model, this is an R-Line, then you get this fancy pattern which lights up on the passenger side as well. There are some harder, scratchier plastics around, but they're mostly out of the way of the areas that you'd regularly touch, and they don't actually feel too low rent. But this infotainment screen does squeak and wobble, which isn't quite so impressive. But it's good that the physical controls that you get do feel decent quality. Overall though, there are other family SUVs out there, like the Genesis GV70 and the Volvo XC40, which offer more consistently plush interiors than what you find in the Tiguan. This is very good for storage though. You've got very big carpeted door bins. You've got this dual layer cubby on the center console. You've got these two cup holders, which you can actually remove if you just want more space instead. And under this central armrest, you've got even more storage. So up front, overall, lots of things to like. When it comes to the engines, the Tiguan has a pretty diverse lineup that has most bases covered. The lineup starts with two 1.5 litre petrol engines. There's an ETSI 130 and a more powerful, quicker ETSI 150. If you want a diesel, there's just one option. It's the TDI 150, and it offers similar straight line pace to what you get in the ETSI 150, but being a diesel, it's got more low-end grunt, and so if you're going to be towing, that is the engine to go for. If you want even more power than all of that, then there are two 2-litre TSI options that you can choose from, the more powerful of which can cover 0 to 62 miles an hour officially in 5.9 seconds, which is pretty quick and in fact sports SUV territory. There are also two plug-in hybrid options with the Tiguan, offering two different power outputs. They both have an official electric-only range of around about 75 miles, which is really, really impressive. Although in the real world, the actual distance you can cover on pure electricity will be less than that. So far, we've only driven the less powerful of the two options, and it is very good for a plug-in hybrid. The switch between electric and petrol power is smooth, smooth, but even though it's good, it is on the expensive side. And so we think this 1.5 ETSI 150 is the pick of the lineup when it comes to the engines, because it's in the sweet spot in terms of the performance that it offers, which is very good, and it's stronger than the ETSI 130, which isn't terrible, but it also still represents brilliant value compared to the more expensive engines as well. Something that lets all versions of the Tiguan down though is the gearbox. It's fine and shifts smoothly when you're on the move, but if, for example, you're waiting at a roundabout and you spot a gap in traffic, when you prod the accelerator, it's a pretty long time before anything actually happens, and that is very annoying. Yes, you can put it in sport mode to improve things, but you don't really want to be doing that all the time. What is good about the Tiguan though is the ride comfort. So on its standard suspension, it is slightly on the firmer side of things, but it still nicely takes the edge off ruts in the road and imperfections as well. It's not perfect, there is a bit of choppiness to the ride at faster speeds, but overall it's impressive, if not quite as comfortable as a Volvo XC40. And if you want to see a full in-depth comparison of this and the XC40, click on that link at the top of the screen now. There is, though, a way to make this Tiguan pretty close to the ride comfort on offer in the XC40, and that is if you go for a version with adaptive suspension. And in fact, it matches the calm and cosseting ride that's available in the Volvo. And if you have a version with that spec, then it means that through the touchscreen infotainment system, you can adjust how soft or firm the suspension is yourself. And it generally improves the ride, makes it really, really impressive. It makes it comfortable and well cushioned, but not with too much float to feel uncontrolled. And when you stiffen things up as well, body control is really impressive. And generally, this car strikes a really nice balance between comfort and agility. It's ultimately not as agile as a BMW X1, but it's certainly more comfortable than that car. And the steering is well weighted, the body control's very good as well. So it's a really nice thing to drive. Something that lets down this particular version though is, even though it comes with adaptive suspension, it has bigger alloys because it's an R-line model. And so that means that the impacts on the suspension are firmer than they are in the versions of this car that don't have these big alloys on. But stick with smaller alloys and go for a model with adaptive suspension if your budget can stretch to it, and you've got a very comfortable, good to drive family SUV. Now, if you like the sound of what the Tiguan has to offer, perhaps the bad news is that this is not a cheap SUV option. The entry-level price for this car is above other alternatives like the Kia Sportage, the Hyundai Tucson, the Mini Countryman, and also the Skoda Karoq, which, as we've said, is very similar to this car, has very similar strengths, but for less money. And if you end up going for a mid-level Tiguan, then it would actually be similar cash to what you'd pay for a Volvo XC40. You do get a decent amount of equipment with the Tiguan though. In total, there are 5 trim levels to choose from, starting with entry-level Life, which comes reasonably well equipped with 18-inch alloys, 3-zone climate control, adaptive cruise control, ambient lighting, power folding door mirrors, and wireless phone charging. But it's only available with one engine. So we'd go for match trim, because the price jump isn't huge and it adds keyless entry, a powered tailgate, and rear privacy glass, with a lot more engines to choose from. If you want even more luxuries, there's Elegance, which adds things like massaging front seats, but it costs more than an equivalent top-spec Sportage GT Line S. R-Line gets the same add-ons as Elegance, but also sportier styling and bigger 20-inch alloys, while Black Edition is very pricey, but comes with extras like Matrix LED headlights and adaptive cruise control with steering assist. So, which Tiguan is best? Well, as we've said, when it comes to the engines, we think it's the 1.5 ETSI 150, which is the most recommendable. And by the way, we did a real-world fuel economy test on that car, and it returned 38.1 miles per gallon, which for a big petrol SUV isn't too shabby. And with that engine, we would go for, as we've said, match trim. But will you want to add any optional extras? Well, you'll probably want to go for some metallic paint. There are also 3 different alloys that you can choose from. And we'd also consider going for the winter pack, which gives you heated front seats and a heated steering wheel. And if you regularly carry people in the back, then you might also want to consider upgrading that to get heated rear seats as well. And if you want the best riding version of the Tiguan, then, as we've said, you'll want to add the dynamic driving package with adaptive chassis control. And if you go for this version of the Tiguan with this level of equipment, then you are getting a very strong family SUV, but it's definitely not a cheap one. And unfortunately, the latest Tiguan performed pretty poorly in the 2025 What Car Reliability Survey. On the plus side, the problems reported were fixed by the warranty, but bear in mind that the warranty on offer doesn't last particularly long. As standard, you get 2 years with unlimited mileage, plus an extra year up to 60,000 miles. But that doesn't come anywhere near close to offering the 7-year cover that you get from Kia, or the up to 10 years that you can get from Toyota. The Tiguan is more impressive when it comes to safety though, which for a family SUV in particular is very important. It received the full 5-star verdict from crash safety experts Euro NCAP when it was tested. And you get lots of standard safety equipment, including automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assistance, blind spot monitoring, and also rear cross traffic alert. So, the new Tiguan is not a bargain, but it offers a practical package and neat driving manners. A Skoda Karoq is cheaper, a Volvo XC40 has a plusher interior, but this Tiguan is still a very strong choice as a family SUV. Thanks very much for watching this review. If you want to see another one, then click up there, and do make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. And to find out more about the Tiguan and every other car around, click on that link to go to whatcar.com.